Action.
Action! We've talked about the 7 or 9 or 6 fundamental questions of philosophy. What is truth? What is beauty? What is justice? What is mind? What is divinity? What is community? What is being? How do we know what we know? What is time? What is space? Let's try the first one. What is truth? Stated otherwise, what is reality? It's called metaphysics. It's called metaphysics because Aristotle, who 90% of his writings we'll never see, lost to history. 10% of his writings we have our hands on, and it's dangerous to look at that 10% and extrapolate from it a characterization of Aristotle's views. But in that 10%, he had a series of lectures called physics, and then after those lectures he would have another series of lectures which he called metaphysics, or beyond physics, after physics. I believe in Greek meta means beyond. My beautiful wife tells me that meta is overused as a prefix, so we're going to kind of, switch away from that. But metaphysics is this study of what is real. If you saw The Matrix, or if you saw Inception and these wonderful movies, even The Wizard of Oz, they ask, how do you know that a tree is really a tree, or that your dog is really your dog? And the first, well, one of the first to really try it out is Plato. And Plato gives us the allegory of the shadows in the cave. If you know this allegory, hit stop, watch another video, go play tennis. If not, let's do it really quickly. Imagine, it's a thought experiment, and it's possibly inspired by Hinduism. Plato is known to be influenced by the East. Imagine a cave, and in this cave, deep, deep, deep inside the cave, are some prisoners. And they're seated, and they're shackled, they're bound with chains. They can't move, they can only look forward, they can't see what's behind them. And in front of them, and all they see, and all they've ever seen since their birth, and all they'll ever see until their death, is a wall. And on that wall, they see what we know and recognize to be shadows, because there's a light, there's a fire blazing behind them higher up that has some, let's say, cardboard cutouts in front of the fire, and it projects light onto the wall, but the cutouts create a shadow. Our prisoners don't know that this is going on behind them, they just see shadows. So they'll see a two-dimensional object that looks like a dog, and they think that's dog. Imagine one of these prisoners gets unbound and turns around, and the turning of the head, the turning of the gaze is very big in Plato. Turns her or his gaze, and for the very first time sees something that not only she or he had never seen, and no other prisoner had ever seen, but something they couldn't even contemplate or imagine. It was beyond the scope of what they could even imagine as possible in what is real and what is reality. And they see above them on a ledge a fire blazing. It's the first time they've ever seen anything like fire. They don't know what it is. And they see these cardboard cutouts, let's say a two-dimensional cardboard cutout of a dog, and they're told that your whole life you've been seeing just shadows, and the real dog is this two-dimensional cardboard cutout. Plato says the first thing that this prisoner would experience is nausea, and would vomit and puke her guts out. And that happens in the Matrix when truth or reality is revealed to Neo in its real sense. After processing this prisoner who's been liberated is looking at the other prisoners who don't realize what's going on. And this prisoner is watching the shadows on the wall, understanding that that's more of a derived reality from the more authentic cardboard cutout, and from something called light that this prisoner had never theretofore previously encountered. Plato asks another question. Imagine this prisoner who's just been unbound and been revealed to this truth, the reality, is led outside the cave for the very first time. This prisoner never knew there was an outside of the cave. And this prisoner is trying to process all of this and sees nature and the outdoors and sunlight, and sees a real dog, a three-dimensional, living, breathing, salivating, urinating dog that jumps all over him and is playful, and is told, this is actually a real dog. The cardboard cutout that you saw in the cave is a derivative, a derivation of that. And in fact, the shadows are a further derivative. And this prisoner would want to run back inside and would want to explain to all of the other prisoners to whom this truth, the reality, had never been revealed, that what you're seeing is an illusion. It's a derivative reality, and there's a more fundamental, authentic reality, and it's outside, and it's three-dimensional dogs, and they jump around, and there's firelight, and actually there's sunlight, and so there's these more authentic forms of light. Plato supposes with us that the bound, shackled prisoners would reject the liberated prisoner as mad, as delusional, and they would ostracize or banish this prisoner, and they would go on enjoying their show, their surreal show. And this prisoner would be very frustrated and would be very confused as to why no one wants to see the true, real, authentic reality. Before I conclude, Plato asks one final question. It's very cryptic, and it can take 10 lifetimes to answer. Plato asks, is there an even more fundamental reality of a dog than the three-dimensional dog outside the cave? And is there an even more fundamental, real, authentic light than sunlight? There's firelight, there's sunlight. Is there an even more authentic light? There's the cardboard, there's the shadow of a dog, there's the cardboard cutout of a dog, there's the three-dimensional dog. Is there something more fundamental? I love my wife, she's beautiful. I love my cat, Desmond, he's beautiful. Going outside the cave now.